Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Startup Grind Detroit. I'm your host, Faris Alami, and I'm excited today because we have another yet cool entrepreneur in Detroit. Jess, how are you?
I'm great, Faris. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And for those who are not familiar with Startup Grind, it's an international platform to highlight the journey of entrepreneurs. Each chapter is run by individuals like me, volunteers, and we're really always excited to interview and have a side chat with awesome entrepreneurs that are local, sometimes international, depending on what we're trying to do. And this month is really looking at the journey of entrepreneurship and what does it look like and how does it feel. So Jess, you've been at this for a long time.
It feels that way. Yeah, 2016 is when we launched our first collection. Technically, we incorporated at the end of 2015. So yes, a long time. And the business has changed a lot since we first started.
Great. Well, let's take a step back. I mean, I think many people may, it'll be nice for them to hear, first of all, what is it that you do? And who's Jess and how did and we'll let's just start there. Let's just start. What is it that you do and who's Jess?
Sure. So I am the co-founder and CEO of Not Sorry Goods. We are a sustainable and inclusive retailer brand based out of Ferndale, Michigan, so Metro Detroit area. We have a flagship store and we specialize in upcycled clothing, vintage clothing and accessories, small batch artisanal gifts and goods from local artists and artists around the country. We also offer embroidery services, screen printing services, and some vintage curation as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So a little bit about me and my background. I am originally from South Florida. I went to the University of Miami. I studied public relations and marketing with a minor in entertainment and music business. And I still do some of that on the side. I actually DJ and run a record label for fun. And so part of what brought me up here was love. I met my partner DJing in Miami. We moved up here for a job opportunity he had. And we've been here for about 10 years. I knew when I was going to move to Detroit that one of the things I wanted to do for my personal and professional life is start some sort of business. I wasn't sure exactly what that was going to be, but I knew it wanted to be creative. And I've always been into fashion. My background also is in design. So one of my first jobs was making graphics and designs for the university's gym. And in high school, actually, my first job was retail. So I've kind of always been in this space. I just never thought I'd make a business out of it. But looking back, all of these things I did actually really helped me in my entrepreneurial journey. So moving here, I actually went back into the retail space initially when I moved up here. I was more focused on my career at that point. So I did retail for a couple years, and then I landed a job with the Chamber of Commerce in Troy. And I started there as the marketing specialist and worked my way to the director of marketing and communications. And that was the last official position I held before I jumped ship and went full time with Not Sorry. I actually started the company while I was with the Chamber of Commerce, and it was just a great foundation for the business because I had access to accountants and lawyers and all of these resources that could help me start this business and support my endeavor with just technical assistance or advice, and then also just learning how to network and to grow your network and the importance of it, and how to do business with other people was just such a profound experience learning all of that. I had an awesome boss, and he's gone on to do great things. He's actually the director of the MVCA now. So a really good person to know. But yeah, I loved that job, and it was bittersweet leaving, but the business by that point had been alive for a few years, 2 years, and we were kind of at the point where if we really wanted to take this seriously, it needed to be a full-time and really go for it. So I planned for that. I, made sure I was ready for that transition. And as much as I prepared, you're never ready. It was definitely a challenge to adjust and going from a 9-to-5 routine and everything kind of booked. You kind of get to make your schedule and figure out what your life looks like. And that's, no one teaches you how to do that. It is not, it's challenge, but it's also really exciting. So yeah, flash forward, it's been 4 years since I stepped down from that position. And in that time, we have, we've grown a lot. When I left, we were just starting to do our semi-permanent pop-up space at the Rust Belt Market, which is this amazing artist market that is in Metro Detroit, and it's only open on the weekends, but it is a kind of a staple. It's, people know about it. People travel from around the state and the region to come check this place out. So we were there, and we were there for 3 years and just developed a really strong customer base in that area. And so down the street, there was a store that had been vacant for a couple years. And I'd say 2020, beginning of 2021 is when my business partner and I really realized, okay, I think it's time. We can do this. This space has been open for a while. And, then we just said, we got to go for it. This is it. Especially once with the pandemic and everything, I think we realized, life's short, like, go for it. And so that's where we're at today. We're about to celebrate 1 year of the store being opened. And in that time, we've gone from, starting with cut and sew manufacturing, which is what we started as, and now we're a retailer and we're carrying other brands, and we're really trying to champion voices that have traditionally been left unheard. And so that's part of the Not Sorry brand, and what we stand for is we are founded on the idea that you should never apologize for being yourself. And so that is kind of the driver of everything we do. And I keep saying we because I do have a business partner, and we actually, she was one of the first people I met when I moved up here. We met kickboxing, actually. We specifically a Groupon for kickboxing. We are budget-minded folks, and we both had a Groupon for this kickboxing class. So that's how we met. We shared mutual interests in fashion, style. Actually, I started shooting photography for Diamond's fashion blog. That's how we kind of became friends. And we just started going out and coming up with cool ideas. And we had this great idea for a shirt. We just thought, okay, let's do a run for Eastern Market after dark. Like, it wasn't serious, and people loved it. And I think after that, we kind of started to take it more serious and thought, okay, well, let's see what it's going to take to do something like this. And when we started as a cut and sew, we were working with Detroit Garment Group when they first started, and they were making all of our stuff and all of our designs. And what we quickly realized is that the target audience we were reaching really loved the designs, but not the price for the cut and sew. So actually, right around the time we got into the Techtown Retail Bootcamp program, which is where I met Ferris, is when we pivoted the business and decided to change this business model and step back from cut and sew and look at putting our designs on something that was a little bit more accessible. And consecutively with that, the research that we had been doing just on the fashion industry motivated us to seek alternatives, because we did not want to be part of this growing fashion pollution problem. Diamond and I have always been lifelong thrifters. We have a passion for it, especially as a Latinx person. You know, my family, part of my family is from Cuba, and so you learn to just be resourceful and like to mend and repair and keep things in pristine condition. And so I've always been taught that. And so and Diamond kind of the same way with her background. And we both had family members who sewed. Actually, my Italian side of the family, they were both seamstresses for Bergdorf Goodman, and that's how they met in New York City back in the early 1900s. So just really cool history for both of us on sewing and fashion. And I think that also kind of motivated us a little bit too, and kind of is like our Northern Star, you know, just like that we have this connection and it's ancestral, and it's really cool. So all of that combined together, we decided to shift to thrifting. And so, yeah, a lot of our clothing now is upcycled. And when we first started, that was kind of a trendy term. We weren't, you know, it was gaining traction. And I think now it is more well known, like what upcycling is. But just for the sake of the conversation, upcycling is basically when you are recycling, but you're enhancing it. So you're actually elevating the item that you are reusing. And so that's what we really feel we're doing, is we're giving a second life to these clothes. And we're making them into something entirely new in a lot of cases. So our goal is to be one of the leading inclusive and sustainable retailers in the Midwest region, ultimately in the country. And really part of that is just helping folks get educated on how they can reimagine their clothes, what that looks like, and really starting to think differently about their wardrobe and how they can reuse and modify stuff. So it is like a completely different mindset shift, but we don't really have a choice. There's just so many clothes. They're not going anywhere. People are still making more clothes. So we see this is not a problem that's going away. So yeah, it's a huge force for us, and it's what compels us to keep doing this. And I love vintage clothes. I think that there's just a history behind each piece, and it tells a story, and I think it's so personal. And I mean, that's part of the reason I love it. And my job is so cool because I get to meet all kinds of amazing people, and no 2 days are the same. And yeah, I get to live out who I am and express it to my full capacity. And I could not ask for, you know, anything better.
There's so much to unfold, and I intentionally said that to you initially of the long time because, you know, a lot of times, you know, you only think about your journey from the moment that, in your mind at least, you opened up, which is a year ago.
Right.
But my perspective is since 2000, even before 16, just your whole journey of life, getting to even the stage to understand. And, you know, for someone who's young like you, right, it's what, 1/3 of your life now, 7, 8 years of
Yeah.
doing this. So it's a long time. It's a journey, right? And I think one of the things I'd like to highlight during the discussion with the startup grind is really that the whole idea of this grinding, that it's a process. You might have thought of different ideas, it evolved, you've touched different things, you meet these, you know, you met Diamond, you met your husband, you know, all these partner, you meet all these different things that you see, and then it really all, I'm going to call it, build up to
Yeah.
where you are now. And although, you know, the media maybe or the newspaper might only talk about you since you opened, because that's what they're
Right.
interested in. The reality is that as an entrepreneur, supporting another entrepreneur, it's really a journey, and it's a long time journey. And especially,
Absolutely.
go ahead.
No, I mean, one thing I didn't really mention was, you know, how I jumped into this space, you know, and there's a lot of behind the scenes work that doesn't get really discussed, you know. So we started the business, and Diamond and I were both running, working full time. I was at the chamber. I mean, after work, I was meeting with her. We were doing sketches. We were sewing. I actually went to tech shop, and when they were open, it was this really cool space where you could basically pay for a membership, take a class in whatever machine you wanted to learn, and then you could go and use the machine as much as you wanted. That's where I learned how to embroider. I got a membership there. I would drive to tech shop after work every day to use that machine and make product. I would be there until they closed a lot of days. And so, I mean, it really is about having we had second full-time jobs, and we didn't really talk about it. But if you want it, if you want to make things work, if you want to make a business work, you got to work on it. And ideally not during your normal job. So, we took the steps to learn what we needed to learn to get into this space. So we don't really have, the traditional fashion design background. Both of us worked in retail for a combined like 15 years experience. Me personally, I worked in retail spaces for about 8 years. And that, that definitely helped a lot with what we're doing now, opening a store. I already had the metric spreadsheet of, the numbers I needed for daily sales and for the daily metrics that I needed to collect at the store. I already had all of that stuff for my old job. Chamber, same thing. I had all of these, I had tools like how to send engaging newsletters to your clients and stuff like that. So just all these little things really help. But a lot of what you don't see or what I don't talk about is really what makes the business. And yeah, a lot of that was just late nights after work, working on stuff to propel it to a point where I could say, this makes sense. I need to, it makes sense to quit my full-time salary position to go after this. You got to be a little crazy to do that too.
Thank you for that, because I was, the first thing I was to go back is say what, the whole process of you leaving such a, I'm going to call stable, structured job and groups of people, right? Because, the chambers kinds of different businesses, and a lot of times they're sponsored by these larger institutions beyond the small and medium businesses. A lot of times they're sponsored by, large institutions that are really, for the most part, very stable, very structured. Walk me through that. What went through your mind? How did you think through it? What, when did you decide to stamp? And I know you said a couple of times it's time to jump ship, but just
I had been thinking about it for a while. It was not overnight. I needed to get some things in order. I needed to make sure that if I couldn't pay myself through the business, that I had some sort of money to like pay for stuff. But also, I'm really fortunate. I have a very supportive partner who has a stable job. So a lot of it was just having a conversation with him and making sure we were on the same page. And it was not easy. I mean, we definitely had to come to a compromise and kind of negotiate. And I'm definitely more of the risk taker than he is, but I think, that's part of our secret sauce of why it works, is because we're a nice yin and yang. And so he was definitely more risk averse than I was to this idea. It took a while to, I don't want to say convince, but maybe demonstrate that this was the right next move. And so, yeah, we had to compromise, and I kind of had put together some metrics like, okay, if by 6 months I'm not here, this is kind of, what I need to do. If I'm not doing this by 12 months, this is what I need to do. And then, before that, I basically saved a lot of money too, so that I could make sure that there was some cushion there. And then I also felt that the position I was in at the chamber, because it's a small team and I was basically the whole marketing department, I didn't want to just jump ship on that either. So I actually gave a 3-month resignation letter. And so I gave them 3 months to replace me, for me to hire and train them, and for us to like make sure that I could put together a pretty comprehensive marketing book of everything I do for the next person. So I'm a planner. I definitely seem like very fun and, you know, pie in the sky, but I'm a planner. I am very strategic about the moves I make. And it does seem like, you know, it might seem overnight, but there was about 10 months of work and planning and strategy that went behind that. And I think what finally just like made the light bulb go off was, yeah, we were just getting opportunities we had to turn down because we weren't available. And I just realized that that was it. We needed to be available. We needed to just, you know, there were going to be more opportunities, and I just didn't want to miss them. And it just reaffirmed, like, this is why I moved up here. This is part of my journey. Like, this is what I've meant to do, is like, I've always wanted to start a creative business. And so, yeah, I think finally just realizing that I was like, okay, if this is it, then I need to do XYZ to feel comfortable not jumping ship, but, you know, transitioning. I keep saying that word, but I really didn't jump ship. There was a lot of planning. It was more like docking, like a long planned dock, if you will. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, this is why I said earlier, you've been planning on this, whether you recognize it or not, for like all your life, right?
Yes.
Growing up in the family, seeing all these things. A lot of times we don't really notice that we're paying attention, but you are.
Right.
I feel like the sentence I say to a lot of other entrepreneurs, especially the ones who say, I did this myself. I'm like, are you kidding? Did you notice that there are streets that you had to drive on that someone else paid for? Did you notice that there are lights in the streets? There's a fire department if God forbid something happens. There's a police station. It's a community. Of course,
Absolutely.
you'll have to do the work for sure. And you will have to do that actual work, which clearly you've done. But it also takes a whole community, it takes a whole village, it takes a whole society to make to provide us with those kinds of opportunities that allow us to take advantage of those opportunities to do something with them. So
Absolutely.
you've been grooming yourself, not knowing, right? All your life with the family, with your friends, with this whole boxing, right? The whole thing is really accumulating in your mind of how to get here. And sure, I think I love what you said about 3 months notice, because I think that's usually a good mindset to be able to do that versus, the 30 days or 2 weeks that is the bare minimum required. And assuming that your employer wants to keep you for 3 months, right? Which
Right.
you did. So that was brilliant. So I'm curious, you said something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs could be intrigued by. I'm intrigued by it. You said you saved some money knowing that you want to do this. Two
Yes.
things. How long, how much time, how much money did you save? Not necessarily the dollar amount, but for how much period of time? And
Sure.
then the second is, did it really work out that way, or did something change, and how did you handle it?
So I saved about 6 months worth of money.
Okay.
Um,
To pay your bills, you
and
mean, right?
yes, yes. I mean, and like I said, I have a partner who also is very successful and has a steady job. So I might be in a slightly different boat than some folks. So it was more to pay my bills and, yeah, make sure a little bit of rainy day situation too. But really it was like, okay, this is 6 months. And my goal was to basically I knew I wasn't going to supplement that income right away, but to at least supplement it enough that it was covering my personal expenses by 6 months. That was my goal. And we did it in less time. I think it took us 4 months. So like that was really it was a big moment because it was like I wasn't, you're not sure. You think but to actually do it, it was like, wow, okay, we're doing it. And it was a big confidence booster. It really was. And I think that was a big shift for me too, was like, okay, I'm full blown entrepreneur. Like this is not, a side hustle anymore. This is it. So it really gave me the confidence I needed to kind of step into that CEO role and fill those shoes and start thinking about everything a little, as a little bit differently, a little bit more like this is it. Like this is my full-time job. And yeah, it was really rewarding. And so yeah, now I'm paying myself a lot more than I was then. So that's great. I'm obviously still not at my salaried level, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It's not about the money, it really isn't. If it was about the money, I wouldn't be an entrepreneur. But I love this. I love what I do. I love every day. And actually I love making money for other people. So like when we get to sell other people's stuff and they get to realize like they have a product people like and want, like it's that they kind of get that feeling, like maybe I could do this full time, maybe I can, and that's so important, especially for creative people. That I feel like we're really we undervalue ourselves. I can't tell you how many times artists try and like undervalue their work or give me a discount. And I have to tell them, no, like no, what is your rate? Don't give me a discount, and it's I don't know why we're all like that, but gosh, we need some sort of class or workshop on that, because it really hurts the community, like when you just undervalue yourself. And so I'm really learning to make sure people know you put work into this, and it's taken me a long time to get there too, so I get it. But your time is the most valuable thing you have. So you can't sell yourself short.
That's powerful. Yeah, I mean, I think the whole discounting your price, especially for when you're working with another um, person, it seems like a trend for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the communities that I think that we work in, underserved, unrepresented, or minority groups. That seems to be like, our approach to life in general.
Yeah.
Google. So therefore, you think if you're giving it to someone else, you're supporting them, but really you hurting them and you,
Yeah.
because you can't stay sustainable, then neither one could be around to
Right.
keep doing the work that you're doing now. So it's a process. I think we just have to, probably need a lot of training on, a lot of education, a lot of exposure. And
Yeah.
to your point, a lot of boostings, right? Like once you've got that little, although I understand that you're not where you want to be financially, once you felt like it's moving in the right directions, it gave you that little boost to say, just keep on moving forward. And I think that's also helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I even though I'm not like making the same I was at the chamber, that's fine, because I'm my own boss. I get to decide what I do. If I want to shut my store down for a week like we did for 4th of July, we can do that. If I want to take an extra long vacation, if I want to take a day off, if I want to throw a party for our customers, like I'm a very independent person. I consider myself someone who that's kind of like something that I've always just held near and dear, is just the independence to do whatever I want. And so that's another driving force. Just being my own boss has always been something that has been very attractive to me. And it's the most rewarding thing. It really is. And it teaches discipline. It really does. To be able to be your own boss, it's like the most disciplined thing you can do. And you have to be very self-aware and real with yourself and keep yourself in check. No one else is going to do that for you. And it's just helped me grow so much as a person. And I'm a better human being for it.
Love it. So I want to go through a couple of things because clearly there's just so much to unfold, honestly, Jess, but we need to just make sure that we're staying to the time period. Otherwise, we'll be here for the next 2 days. With Diamond, I love the story of how you met. Many people struggle to find partners, and when they do find partners, sometimes, not all, but sometimes the partnership doesn't work out, or they might have, disagreements. I would love to hear just a little bit about, and maybe we should have had Diamond here, maybe for the next one.
Yes.
What are some of those, challenges that you guys might have faced as a dual co-founders, and what are some of the places where you felt if it wasn't for the partnership, you probably wouldn't be here?
Oh, I mean, in general, I don't think we would be here without each other. Yeah, it's crazy because we didn't know each other that long before we started the business, but I think that actually was to our benefit. Because I think if you know someone for a long time, like it's easy to like, oh, I don't want to hurt our friendship. Like, I don't want to say something like, what if it ruins our 10-year-long friendship or whatever? And because we were both, like kind of new to each other, I think we were able to just speak more frank and like, I don't know, we were like not gonna let each other get away with stuff, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, we were both took it really seriously. And I think that was one thing that, at least for me, I think for her too, we realized, okay, I found someone who's working as hard as me, and someone who is, responsive, accountable, respectful, and honest. And I just right away just had this intuition, and I think she did too, like, okay, this person's on my level. I don't feel like I'm carrying the weight. I feel like there's a division of labor and duties here that is playing to our strengths, but also like collaborative. And that was really, it was the first time in my life that I had met someone that I felt like I could run a business with them. And yeah, I don't know, it was like this gut instinct. I can't describe it, but then she kept showing up, she kept doing the work, and just her approach too, like, so she's analytical and I'm more expressive, so it works too, because I'm like the talker and she's more of the listener. And so as we've, grown our relationship, I've learned that I kind of need to shut up so that she can say what she needs to say. But yeah, I think at get-go, it was a gut instinct, and then just we were accountable to each other, and we kept showing up, and just realized like, okay, we're both in this as serious as each other. And so that really just motivated us to keep going. Yeah, I mean, there are so many, we would not be doing this if it weren't for each other. I mean, like you said, it takes a village, and I just can't imagine doing this without her. There's just so many little moving parts to running a business. And, if one of us has something personal we need to do, the other one picks up the slack. And we've kind of always been like that, where we kind of help each other. And I kind of think of it as like a sub in on the basketball team. Like sometimes we sub in for each other when we need to. But yeah, being able to be honest and forthright and just lay the cards out on the table too, and not take things personally. That is so important. I just like, I've really lucked out. It doesn't always work out where you just find such a strong partner in a business. And yeah, I think just the foundation of our hard work and being accountable and honest is really kind of what drives everything. And yeah, we are, she's one of my closest friends now. So it's not like you can't become close friends with your business partner, but we still make sure that we try and have a balance. Although I feel like when we socially hang out, we are almost always talking about business. But we love it, like that to us, that is social. And yeah, we're very fortunate. I think that we have found each other. And it's not like we don't have disagreements, but I think that because there's such a strong foundation of respect, like we're able to work through them and come up with solutions. And in the end of the day, we're on the same team. We want the same goals. We want the same things. And as long as that stays the same, like we're working towards the same thing, we're going to figure out a way to make it work.
Love that. I mean, the one of the things I always people, if you don't have, sometimes I'm going to call them just disagreements, that means you're probably just not talking deep enough, right? Because it's okay and it's healthy. You want to have some friction. You just don't want to have, a smashing friction because smashing.
Right. You don't want to like be avoiding your business partner just to like not talk to them about stuff. And I mean, we do have disagreements on certain things. And a lot of it is just like how we were raised, going back to that. And it's good. I think it's good to have disagreements. It's good to like challenge each other on stuff. And we've both been in the position where later on we're like, you were right, and like we take the ego out of it. And we're comfortable admitting that, it just makes us a stronger team.
Oh, for sure. I mean, most of the time we all grow up with sayings like "don't do this" or "don't eat that" or "don't touch this" or "don't touch that." Then you grow up and then you meet someone that all their life only ate the one thing that you weren't supposed to eat, or
Right.
touched all the things that they weren't supposed to touch, and they were fine. So it's just unfortunately, culture is very powerful and it can make an impact. But yeah, I agree. The minute you put your egos aside, there could be opportunity to learn, could be also an opportunity for the other person to learn as well. So that the person that may be challenging it. Well, I there's just, I want to go back and dig, but I feel like I also want to be respectful to keep you going. So I'd love to maybe ask you just a few more closing questions. Looking back at the journey that you've taken, and maybe look, we can call it since 2015-ish, right? The last 7 years. If you were to go back and tell yourself 7 years ago something, not necessarily that you would listen, Jess, right? Because you're in a different mindset, right? You have grown, you've learned so much. But if you were to go back and say it, because I believe that the more we say it, the more someone will catch it. If I say it today, you say it tomorrow, someone else say it the day after, hoping that someone captures it a little earlier, that hopefully the less challenges the other person may face or the better opportunities they may have. I don't know. You said a couple of things that I think I would love for people to learn from, such as you networked, through the chamber. The chamber was a great, place for you to see how things work and how things, and what you should or shouldn't be doing. So you go back 7 years ago and you say, "Hey, Jess, listen to this." What would you say?
Hmm. Uh, I would probably say don't overthink it too much. That's a big one for me. Um, I would probably say, yeah, don't sacrifice like your personal well-being for the business. I think that's one that like grinding is great, but it shouldn't be at the expense of your personal well-being. And for a long time it was for me, and I just kind of had convinced myself that like the business was like the most important thing in the world, and it's not. You are. And yeah, I just like wasn't showing up the way I needed to because like I wasn't taking care of myself. And so This year, I have really made an effort to take care of myself. And I see such a difference in how I handle stress, how I, make decisions, my memory, like everything. And so for me, what that means is, I think it's different for everyone, but for me, it means exercising. It is for me so important. It helps me stay mentally fresh. I think, getting enough sleep too, making sure you're resting your mind. And meditating, actually has really helped me a lot. So yeah, it's fun to like talk about like the hustle and stuff, but if you're not taking care of yourself, it's just not sustainable. And so that's one thing I would tell myself. And then I think also just, like use your resources to the absolute maximum. Reach out to that person that you haven't talked to in a few years and just talk. If you need something, it's okay to ask for things. I think for a long time I was like afraid, not afraid, but like felt like I was burdening people to ask for things, but like everyone wants to help you, you just have to ask. So don't be afraid to ask for things. That is so important, and you won't get anywhere unless you ask, and almost always they say yes. So that's a huge one too. And then I think like taking advantage of SBA and SBDC and like all the resources that are available to you, not even nationally, but locally, right away. I felt like I was kind of on top of that, but now there's just, I just feel like there's a lot more that is out there, and now I'm kind of tapped into it and like, okay, there's all these opportunities we could go after. Do that from the get-go, because those people are there to help you to avoid mistakes. And I think we could have avoided some things early on if we had tapped into that stuff a little sooner.
Cool. Love it. So don't complicate it. Take care of yourself. It's beyond the business is, it's not you only, and you're not the only business.
Yep. Ask for help.
Ask for help. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jess.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the time and appreciate you being here. Appreciate also your insights and being open and sharing such wonderful insights.
Thanks for having me. That was great.
Yeah, those who are listening.
I'm like, oh, I have done some stuff. Okay.
It helps to take time to reflect, right? It does.
Yes, I would say that's another point, is make sure you have moments of reflection, especially when you feel like everything's going awful. Like just say, where was I a year ago? Like, where was I 2 years ago? It always puts things into perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. For those who are listening or watching us, thank you so much for being with us. This is Startup Grind Detroit. I'm your host, Faris Almi. Until the next time, have a good day.